Hello, Steve White, Trek Boy 89 for Steve Arts 89. I finally got around to watching the new Picard episode. Um, I think I was putting it off because I was afraid they were going to do it bad. I was, on one level, really looking forward to seeing the Rikers, but I was so scared they were going to ruin them that I put it off. I had to have a surgical procedure this morning, so I did that and just took the whole day doing things, and I took forever to come home and watch the show. And then after I watched the show, I didn't make a video right away because I actually was really emotional, and I thought I don't want to get upset on camera and look ridiculous. So um, the episode was written by Samantha Humphrey and Michael Chabon. It was directed by Doug Nikoski. I'm not sure who that is. It's episode 7. Now we start off. I'll get I'll get through the crap we don't care about first. We start off at the Daystrom Institute with Gelati, where we go back to that scene where the Romulan with the ridiculous ears and the sunglasses shows up, and she basically forces a mind meld on her without her permission, and shares some horrific future caused if synths are allowed to exist, basically, um, which is goes back to the line where she referred to if basically knew what I knew. Um, it's kind of disturbing. She vomits afterwards, and it's just another ugly um, Star Trek scene, modern Star Trek scene. Um, and then on Picard's ship, basically they are stuck in a tractor beam. They're eventually let go. Nerek follows them as they go to meet Picard. Jurati is freaking out. She's vomiting. She's sick. She's stressed. She just wants to leave. She's asking them, do you guys even want to rescue Picard? Do you want to be involved in this? Can we just go home? Can we just leave and give it up? I don't want to be part of this. Auntie Raffi takes her down to give her some cake. And the ship is interesting, actually. You kind of realise that the ship is quite small, and the whole set is the whole ship, which is kind of nice in a way, design-wise. I don't entirely hate all the designs in the show, even if they're not really Star Trek. I kind of like the fact that you can see the whole ship and the whole area and the whole inside, and you sort of it's kind of interesting. But so she takes her down to one section, and they're eating, and she's freaking out again, and eventually she injects herself with something, possibly to, I don't know if she was trying to kill herself or if she was just trying to destroy the tracking device that was inside her, because they were following them. They were trying to escape, but Nerek was following them because of the tracking. Because the Vulcan made her chew a pill, some sort of little triangle shaped, looked like glass, blue glass pill. And I think that's where their story ends off. We don't really get any more conclusion to that, other than they are on their way to get to Picard, and they eventually get to where they can speak to him via comm and give him an ETA. Now we get to the we're on the Borg cube. Basically, I've forgotten his name. The Romulan elf is really not much use. This is the bad thing about the episode, but it's not a surprise. It's kind of like I feel desensitized. Hugh is killed. Hugh dies. He's tortured. He doesn't give up any information for the Romulan sister. So then she kills, I think, all the reclaimed Borgs in front of him, which devastates him, of course. He's determined, with the elf's help, to actually... he had some plan, I don't know what it was, but she shows up again and says, what, you're surprised, you didn't realise you were being monitored, really? And she says, basically, she couldn't kill him because of the treaty before. She says, well, now you've betrayed the treaty, you've betrayed us, you're a traitor, so it's insurrection, I can kill you now. So there's a fight, and yeah, she throws a little knife into his neck. He bleeds to death in the elf's hands, and he's left there. and we don't really. That's where he's left. We don't really know anything about his story, but that's all out of the way because no one cares about all that. All we care about is the Rikers, and now we get to the Rikers, and I loved it. I really loved that. I was terrified they were going to destroy them. They did a small bit of damage, but they didn't actually destroy them. They basically are living happily ever after. They were on their ship, the Titan. They had a child. They had two children. One child was born on the ship. He had no home world. He always wanted a home world. But he got sick and he died. And that was very sad. Not sure what order to go in with everything. But basically, Picard shows up and Deanna reads him right away. And she knows that he's dying. And he just says, I'm okay, and Mirina did such a good job of it. The emotion, I mean, I started crying right away. Now, I do cry in things. I'm an emotional person. And I'm also going through grief in my own life where my parents died a year apart from cancer and my sister died from cancer 6 months later, not that long ago. And I had a moment the other day in a store. I had to buy something that my mother would normally buy for me, and it was the first time I had to buy it for myself. And I started crying in the aisle. So I don't know if the episode really was that emotional. Perhaps I'm just very emotional because I'm in that sort of state. But I started crying right away as soon as I saw her read him, and the empathetic powers came out. And at some point, I even was that sort of crying where you sort of have those tiny little chest palpitations where you just it's just it was very emotional for me because I mean if you grew up with Star Trek, if you grew up with this show Next Generation, you grew up with these characters. They feel like extended family. You care about them. They seem real. And I've met Mirina. I've met Will, Will, and you feel like you know them in a sort of real way, which is weird because all the years of interviews with the actors and everything, you kind of feel that way. And Mirina acted it so well, and she basically says to Picard, "Look, your family, stay here. We'll protect you. Stay as long as you like, whatever you need." But he stays in their son's room, and because at first I thought, oh, they had a son. Oh, he must be off at Starfleet or something. And then when she hesitates before she goes into the room, I'm like, oh, he died. And then I'm like, oh, I don't want to go here. And of course, she says all this to Picard, but she's basically saying to him, I can't lose another child. Like, I will protect you, you're my family, but I cannot risk my daughter. I cannot lose another child, basically. And it really got to me. I don't know why, but so I'm watching that, and Marina did such a good job, and Patrick did such a good job as well. He said, "I don't want to be here. It was just an impulse. I didn't have time. I'm going to get out of here the second my crew is in range. You can beam me up. I'm gone. I'm not going to risk you guys any second longer than I'd have to." Basically, they all go out, have a barbecue. They cook pizza. It's just they have a beautiful life with their daughter. She runs around the woods like an archer, and it's just they have a happy ending. Basically, they're the only happy ending so far, I think. Everyone else had a bad ending or is in some sort of distress. Now, they did lose a son. They are dealing with that, but we got to have a happy ending with them. They didn't destroy them, so I was just so grateful for that, and I just loved every minute we spent with them. It just felt like being home on some level, and it was so great to see them where they are at now, basically present time. They've grown that much. They've grown the length of time that's passed. I felt like we've been with them the whole time. It is a great thing to have grown up with Star Trek, the way that it worked in sort of running along with our time. And I just really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed this episode. I mean, I didn't need to flash back to the other scenes and the other story going on because I don't care about it. But basically, they have dinner. They try and help Picard work out, because Riker works out everything that's happened. He warned him, said, "You deal with the Tel Shiar, you're going to have Romulans in your back pocket forever." Deanna works out, of course, that Daj is an android. She has to deal with all that herself. She cannot trust Picard. Picard is a little unsympathetic to some degree, where he makes a couple of comments like, "Oh yes, it's all a big conspiracy to get you," and of course she literally smacks him as she walks past. And Deanna is the one who reads Picard the right act this episode, because there has to be a woman telling Picard off every episode, and this time it's Deanna, but he kind of asked for it. He was a bit of a jerk for a moment there. He had been pretty sensitive up until this point, but he was kind of, I don't know, just... So eventually Deanna talked to her. They got, between all of them working on her, they got her to trust Picard, and the idea that you can be Picard's family. He can be your family, you can be his. You don't have to be alone. And she started to see that. And it was all pretty great. I really liked it. I thought the writing was good. They felt like they really knew the characters. The actors just stepped right back into the characters, like they never left. I just thought it was really great. The scenes on the planet, Nepenthe or whatever it was called, were just... I just loved it, and like I said, I was crying all the way through it, and just really enjoying it. And I'm just happy that there's at least one good episode. I will buy the box set on DVD and Blu-ray for this, even if I have to edit out the other scenes and just make it like a next-gen little escape to a planet, and forget about the rest of the story. I will watch it again and again, along with the rest of the Next Generation. I don't know about the rest of the series. And the only negatives really was just, I just really became aware of how bland the Borg cube is, the design. I mean, I know they have to stay 25% different, but they don't have to be 20% duller. They can be 25% more interesting or more complicated. They could have had it all torn apart from where they're working on it, rather than all just looking like a big grey flat bunch of paneling. It's just awful. And Deanna, Mirina, I mean... They didn't do her much justice with the costume. She had 2 outfits for her 3 scenes. She seemed to go backwards and forwards between the 2 outfits, which didn't make sense. She had a blue outfit, which was kind of a tight, sort of, felt like a wrap sort of top. It didn't do her any justice. It didn't flatter her at all. She had a pink outfit top, which looked quite nice. And they should have stuck with that sort of loose fitting, because Mirina is getting older. They all are. You can't hide it. And they didn't do her any justice dressing her like a 30-year-old. But she's still beautiful. But yeah, the costuming failed her. And this is no excuse for that. I mean, unless they had like no time to do a fitting. So I was a little bit upset for her for that, because she should have looked just beautiful the whole time. All they had to do was have her in just slightly flowing things, not tight. You don't put tight on someone who is older and doesn't have a slim, tiny little Hollywood actress figure, which she doesn't have anymore, which is fine. No one should have that body anyway. It's not natural. And you can only do it for a few years while you're a young starlet in Hollywood. But enough about that. Those were the 2 little things that bugged me, that and just going back to the other story, which I didn't care about. But the time we spent with them was amazing. I just loved it. It was very emotional. I was sad for them. I felt like they were my family, and they went through this horrible thing that I relate to, and I'm like the youngest of 8, and I have sisters and nieces who have their own children who are all about that age, and they've all been, knock wood, lucky. None of them have had any real problems with their children, but I couldn't imagine this happening to them. So it was very emotional, and I'm just going to leave it there because I'm just waffling on. And I didn't mean to talk this long, but it is great. The Rikers are back. I loved every minute with them. Feel free to share, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you thought. Did you have the same reaction? Am I just in a very emotional state and it wasn't that good? Or wasn't that emotional or interesting? I don't know. But feel free to comment. Let me know. Comments are fun. I'm going to go and look at the preview for next week, and try and get used to the idea of getting back into the more Picard universe, because this was a moment in Next Gen universe. We went back to the Next Gen for a minute, and the only glimpses of Next Gen we've seen are the 2 scenes with Data, the dream scenes, and that's it. So I might do a little Next Gen edit where I just have those 2 scenes and the scenes on the planet with them, and maybe that's all I watch of the series in the future. I don't know. But I'm going to go before I get to 15 minutes, because it's just way too long. If you've stayed this long, thank you very much. Let me know. Okay, bye.